Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I'm really thrilled to bring you today's interview. I had Catharine Arnston on the show back in February, and even though it was over 2 hours long, we still had so much to talk about and so much for her to teach us. She has dived into the subject of algae and how chlorella and spirulina are the world's best superfoods. She talks about how they can heal the body and all the medicinal nutrient properties inside them. Now, for over 50 years, algae has been eaten as a superfood in Asia, but it's hasn't quite caught on yet in the West. And she has made it her life's mission to absolutely have it be widely accepted in the Western world because, as you'll find out, it's an amazing food. And after you hear her talk about it for a few minutes, you'll want to go out and get some and start munching on it yourself. My whole family actually has been eating her chlorella and spirulina that her company produces. She's been in business for about 7 years and has really dedicated her life to making the highest quality, most pure spirulina and chlorella. I want to let you know that if you're interested in getting her, now you can't call it a supplement because you actually grow it like a crop, so it's technically a food. So if you want to get a hold of her, it's what she calls ENERGYbits. These little chewable chlorella and spirulina tablets they're quite delicious actually and very nutritious, highly nutritious. You can go to ENERGYbits.com, put in the coupon code LTH, that's Learn True Health, and she's giving you 20% off. Anytime you buy any of the bags of chlorella or spirulina from her website, she wants you to get 20% off by using the code LTH. I have bought a lot of spirulina and chlorella in my life and from other companies, and I love hers the best. Plus, she's so passionate and so dedicated to making it the best quality possible. And we get into how it's farmed, how it's made, what kind of illnesses it can support the body in healing, all that good stuff. Now, I decided to break this interview up into two parts because just like last time, we got on a roll and there's so many wonderful things that we covered. So I decided to split it up. So this is part one, and you'll enjoy part two. The next episode I release will be part two, where we will conclude the interview. Enjoy today's show, and please share this with your friends and family who are athletes, who have illnesses they're looking to fight, who need more energy, more mental clarity, your friends who are kind of like always reaching for something to give them energy in the afternoon, or if you have friends that are going through cancer treatments or have gone through cancer treatments, have anemia. There's so many different things that the superfood will really benefit in supporting the body in overcoming, as you will hear in today's interview. Enjoy. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 265. I am so thrilled to have back on the show with us the founder and chief executive officer of ENERGYbits, which is my favorite algae company. And I know a lot of people go, algae? Ew. But by the time you're done listening to this interview, you're going to be like, algae? Yes! This stuff is awesome. I have been blown away by how amazing chlorella and spirulina is for us. I've had several doctors talk about how they use it as a key component in reversing autism and detoxifying heavy metals, and even in supporting cancer patients to not have the symptoms of chemotherapy. So there's just so many different ways that we can utilize chlorella and spirulina, but today's going to be all about learning about algae and the tremendous healing benefits. Welcome to the show, Catharine Arnston. I'm just so thrilled to have you back. You were back on the show in February, and that we talked for like 2.5 hours.
2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, it was about 3 hours. And afterwards, when we were done the interview, we just had more to talk about. So I said, well, we got to have you back. And you have some new information for us.
Yes.
You've learned some, you're constantly researching and speaking with scientists and doctors and discovering all the latest information. as they continue to uncover why why chlorella and spirulina are so healthy, but only when they are uh
Pure and
grown
clean,
and
right.
clean, because there's a lot of them out there that aren't. So we're going to get into all that. What I found really interesting about what you taught us last time is that when Fukushima happened, mostly everyone knows what Fukushima is, but a few years ago there was a earthquake followed by a tsunami that caused a nuclear power plant to have an accident in Japan, and that entire area became contaminated, and radioactive.
Right.
And there's been speculation that that radioactive substance has gotten into the ocean and has affected not only Japan but the western seaboard of North America. And so there's just been a great concern
Yep.
about our health in the last few years around that. And what I thought was really interesting is you said that the Asian population within a matter of hours completely bought up the entire world's supply
Of chlorella.
of
Yeah.
chlorella because they know that chlorella can somehow neutralize the
Well,
effects.
it's not just neutralize, it's the only thing that removes radiation from your body. Some people will take iodine, which helps prevent the absorption of it, but it doesn't remove it. And so, but chlorella does. And chlorella is what's called a chelator, and it will remove any toxins, whether it's mercury, lead, excess. That's why they use it for chemotherapy treatments, because it will remove the excess chemotherapy, and which is, you know, and the radiation. So yeah, it was pretty. We had to wait for 2 months to get our next supply because algae, chlorella and spirulina, both are crops that are grown in fresh water. And so, with all the algae being grown, you know, scooped up and purchased because of the radiation, they're aware of the ability of it to remove the radiation. You know, they had to go through the growing process, another month to grow it, a couple weeks to dry it, a couple weeks to package it. So it was the only time in our history, we've been around for 8 years, that we were out of stock of chlorella. And I hope it never happens again.
That's amazing. I know with the
Yeah.
iodine, it actually doesn't prevent absorption of the whole body. It only prevents absorption within the thyroid. So
Or
you're
is it just
really
the thyroid? So I didn't
it's
even know that.
it's
Yeah.
just yeah, but I mean everyone was buying up iodine also because
Yes.
anything you can do to prevent absorption of radioactive material at any part of your body. But if you're taking iodine when you're exposed to radiation, you're only preventing radiation from being absorbed into the thyroid. So with the rest of the body is screwed, but not your thyroid.
Yeah, right, right.
We're
And I do want to talk a fair amount about chlorella because a lot of people do know about spirulina, and it's been endorsed by the United Nations for 50 years as the answer to world hunger, which it is because of it has the highest concentration of protein and, of course, 40 other vitamins and minerals. But I think chlorella is even more important than spirulina because of this ability to remove toxins. And we live in a very toxic world. And we're going to talk about important nutrients that are basically non existent in our diet, like vitamin K2 and chlorophyll. And chlorella has the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world and a very high concentration of vitamin K2, which I'm so excited about and only learned about a couple of months ago. So, yeah, they do completely different things. And maybe we should start, just in case people didn't hear the first talk or interview, maybe I could give just a thumbnail summary of what the two algaes are and what they do differently in your body, and then we can move forward from there.
Absolutely. I'd love that. And just so the listeners know, as they're listening, they're probably going to want to buy your chlorella. I love your chlorella, and I bought a chlorella from other companies, and I really recommend yours. Actually, I find that your chlorella tastes the best.
Yeah.
And my son, who's 3 years old, who's become picky, unfortunately, he's gotten into that like picky phase. He will eat your chlorella,
Ooh, all
and we
right.
call them because they're about the size of little aspirins, right? Because
Yes.
you
Yes.
take the plant or the algae, and then you're able to I don't even know the process. You could explain the process to us in this interview, but it looks like it's sort of dehydrated and then pressed into something small so that you like a that's why we call them energy bits because
Right.
they're little bits and then you
They're
can chew
they're
them.
they're right.
And my son calls them green crackers.
Yeah,
And because
it's
'cause they're
a
crunchy like crackers, and they
yeah,
make our tongues temporarily turn green. You just have a glass of water and the green is gone, but it's a
yeah,
lot of fun for kids, particularly boys, to turn your tongues green and then stick your tongues out at each other, and so it's just really easy to get kids to like it because it becomes
yeah,
this fun game. But he always wants to eat more and more and
yeah.
more, and he's never said,
He's
"Okay,
like
I'm
me.
done." Like, I'm kinda like, "Okay, you've had enough," you know?
I know.
But
They are,
it's
and you know, I tell people how many other meals can you have that will help you heal? Like it's a meal that heals. So
mm.
it's and I don't know if you've tried this yet, and I would encourage anybody else to if they've never eaten the chlorella tablets. Ours are called recovery bits. Um, but they taste fantastic with macadamia nuts because of the really great fat in macadamia, the sea salt, and then you blend it with the sort of the flat green flavor of the chlorella, and I swear to God, they taste like potato chips. That those two flavors together. So that's going to be our next sort of like a trail mix that we hope to launch next year.
Oh, fun. So listeners, if listeners would like to purchase your chlorella or spirulina, you do also have one that's a blend of the two,
Yes,
and they can go to ENERGYbits.com. They
yes,
will receive a discount. You are giving our listeners a discount,
you
which
bet.
is so cool. So if you put in the coupon code LTH, as in Learn True Health, so LTH is the coupon code. What's the discount that they get?
They get 20% off, and that
Nice.
lasts forever until you tell us to stop. So, you know, don't panic that you have to just get it now, although we'd love to have you, you know, get some now, but it will last later in the year. And trust me, once you start using this and you start feeling so good, you'll want to continue using it. At least I hope you will. It's also a food-based replacement for your supplements. And because there's so much protein, especially with the spirulina, it acts as a snack. It gives you energy before your workout or your children's workout. So it's a replacement for any of those power bars or Gatorades or any of those
Mm.
energy drinks or snacks. So it's really a one-stop shop for energy, focus, hunger, health, and wellness. And as I say, you don't need calcium, magnesium, you don't need a multivitamin, you don't need fish oil. I can hardly wait to tell you about why don't need fish oil anymore. So yeah, so
Wow.
it replaces all those, and it's organically grown, non-GMO. Like it's like the kid everybody wants to come to their birthday party. Everyone loves algae, and I'm the proud mama.
So let's get into for those who didn't
Okay,
listen to the first interview, what is the difference between spirulina and chlorella? And like I know there's the green algae and the blue green algae and what's the difference in terms of
sure.
the medicinal properties for our body?
Sure. Well, first of all, spirulina was the first plant life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago, and it is considered a blue-green algae. And the reason why it's called a blue-green algae is because one of the pigments that's in it is called phycocyanin, and it's blue. And if you do buy any, I would encourage you, especially if you buy both of them, take a few tablets of the spirulina and put it on a white plate with some water, and take a few of the chlorella and put it in a different plate, and let it sit there, maybe tap it for a couple of hours, and you'll see out of the spirulina this gorgeous blue color. It's like an Aegean Sea, or very similar to the branding color, and that is phycocyanin, and that does not exist anywhere else in nature. It's only in the spirulina, and it has wonderful healing properties. One of which has been documented to show that it helps reverse cancer, because what it does is it has called anti-angiogenesis properties, which stops the growth of blood vessels to tumors and cancer. So it's really amazing, this blue-green algae. So spirulina is mostly used for hunger and energy and focus, because it's loaded with has the highest concentration of protein in the world, and the Germans discovered this back in the around 1917 and won a Nobel Prize related to that. It is loaded with B vitamins, which B vitamins give you energy, and they're also important for a process called methylation, which is a cellular process that helps your cells communicate with one another and to grow back in a healthy fashion. So B vitamins are really important, and it also is loaded with essential fatty acids, both omega-3 and something called GLA, which technically is an omega-6 but behaves like an omega-3 because it's unprocessed. And so what this does, your brain is mostly fat, and so it needs healthy fats to stay healthy and to be focused. And fats are also very important for cellular functioning. So in a nutshell, spirulina is also known as a blue-green algae. It's really for hunger and energy and focus, and that's why we called it ENERGYbits, because it does give you energy. We fuel 5 NHL teams, and actually yesterday we were contacted by our first Major League soccer team because their nutritionist learned about us, and she wants to get her team on board. So we're going to start working with even more professional sports communities, because we do all these lab tests to prove that they're safe and have no banned substances, and the nutrient profile is exactly what we say it is, and of course they're toxin free. So it is fantastic for any kind of athlete, whether you're a 4-year-old soccer player or a 40-year-old soccer player. So that's spirulina. Then there's chlorella, which actually developed about a billion years after spirulina. Oh, and one more thing about spirulina. Technically, it is a bacteria. A few years ago, I would have hesitated to tell anybody about that, but now everyone recognizes how important bacteria are, and that there's 10 times as many bacteria in our body as there are cells, and that you want the healthy bacteria because they, in fact, are the ones responsible for so much of your health and even creating nutrients like B12. So technically, spirulina is a bacteria because it has no cellulose wall and no DNA. And the reason why this is important for your listeners to know is this is why spirulina gets into your bloodstream almost instantly. If you chew it, it's in your bloodstream in seconds. And if you swallow it, it's about maybe 15 minutes. And this is another reason why the athletes, particularly marathon runners and triathletes, love it so much, because it gets into their system so quickly, no rush, no crash, just steady energy, and does not upset their stomach because there's no sugar or chemicals or carbs. It's zero carbs, which is really important for the keto community. So it's rapid but steady, clean energy. The way we describe the way you feel when you take spirulina is you just feel fresh, really alert, like you had a great night's sleep. And like, who doesn't want to feel like that all the time?
No
So
kidding.
it's pretty powerful.
I
And
have
then
I have a couple,
yes,
before we get on to chlorella, I have some
okay,
clarifying questions.
yes, absolutely.
So spirulina is, and I actually looked this up after our first interview. I had a listener, as a friend of mine, contact me and said, "Well, my husband thinks that Catherine is full of BS because
That's okay. Won't be the
he
first time.
he because he's and he's like a school teacher, and he goes, I don't think that spirulina is a bacteria. That sounds like just complete puppycock." And then so I'm like reading this as in a message, and I'm kind of like, okay. And so I Googled it, and I like shows up in Wiki, like in the
Yeah,
first paragraph in Wiki, that, you know,
cyanobacteria.
it is a bacteria. And so
Yep.
I just like screenshot it and sent it back, and she's like, okay, thanks. That shut him up.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's funny because you've we come up with these crazy things.
yeah,
We come up with this crazy information, and we're challenging people's consciousness, like that you could eat an algae to replace your fish oil, and you could eat an algae to kill cancer, or just all these amazing things that it does. Sometimes it sounds too good to be true,
I know.
and you're probably left challenging people's belief systems. And so we're gonna give you lots of information in today's interview, but as you're listening, just know that your belief systems will be challenged, and that's okay. We're here, our
Yep.
minds are open. Let your mind become so open your brain falls out. Like, just let's open our minds and just be open to hearing this new information. um but some of it might not all be new. Now, you said that spirulina is great for those who want some more B vitamins naturally. what if they have like the MTHFR issue where they have problems methylating?
Mhm.
Is the spirulina composed in such a way that even those with methylation problems can utilize those B vitamins?
Well, that's a really great question, and I've in fact, there's a methylation summit was trying to go to. It's in Chicago. It's the first time it's been held. It's this July, but they're sold out, and it's only for clinicians. What I try to do is learn as much as I can about everything, and so methylation is relatively new to me. So we haven't been able to do as much testing as I would like to do because we're so tiny. But that's on my shopping list of tests that I would like to do. But I have to believe that it would help only because everything else that I've done a deep dive into on the science has come up positive. And the reason why it always works, it seems to work, is because algae is a functional food. It's not a extract, it's not a supplement, it's not something that's made in a lab, and so you have to eat it with other foods for proper absorption. This comes from Mother Nature, and I have such admiration for Mother Nature, and I there's so many other nutrients that are synergistic with the B vitamins in the algae. It doesn't matter which one you take, that because it requires calcium and magnesium, and that's all in the algae. So um, I that's why I consider it a perfect food. That and the fact that it's the same, virtually the same nutrient profile as mother's milk, the colostrum. Um, so I don't have any data to tell you yes, but I will tell you that I'm going to do my best to find out. May take me a year because I have to find scientists who can do some testing. Although we're working now with Dr. D'Agostino, who's an expert in ketogenics. He's a NASA scientist and works out of the University of Southern Florida in Tampa. And we just got contacted by Jeff Volk. You may know about him and Stephen Finney. They have been working in ketogenics again, also for 30 or 40 years, and they want to do some tests on our algae as well. So we're doing everything that we can to accumulate more data points so that we can show people the science that we have done
I
ourselves.
love it.
So stay tuned, and that's the other thing. I'm so glad that you mentioned this at the front of our interview about how you're going to hear a lot of things that will challenge you. But what I try to share with people is that algae isn't new. It's just new to you. And in fact, I think it's been an industry in Asia for 50 years. It's the most studied food in the world. There are about 60,000 studies on spirulina, about 40,000 on chlorella. So collectively, that's 100,000. But I think that's also acted as a disincentive. There's literally too much science about it. And I am quite proud of what we've done, and what I've done in particular is that I think I'm a closet science geek. And so I've taken 8 years to dig through as many of these reports as I can to connect the dots so that I could communicate it in a way that people could understand. And I
Mm.
take no offense when being challenged because my role is to help people understand what I now know. And even if it takes me 10 years, this is my life as long as I can foresee my future living here and on Earth, is to help algae become accepted and get into the mainstream, because it does have all the nutrients that we're missing and can make such a huge contribution to our health, to the Earth. We're going to talk about its sustainability issues. So I love being challenged. And if I don't have the answer, I promise you I will try to find it.
All right, well, that will be in a future interview because I
Yes,
definitely want
okay,
to
there
have
you
you
go.
back. So now we have something to talk about for interview number 3.
Three, there you go.
That's great. And now I think you cut out a little bit just as you were dropping some amazing information, which was that it mimics the colostrum of breast milk. Can you just touch on that?
Yeah. So, and now we're still on spirulina. So, years ago, I had read in a couple of books that in Japan, when if babies were born and they could not digest mother's milk, the only thing that kept them alive was spirulina in water.
Oh,
Now, I
wow.
don't have the scientific data for that. I just have the reference in a couple of books. But I used to wonder, like, what is it that's keeping these babies alive? Because they used to try. They gave them, everything from soy milk to rice milk, and nothing kept them alive. And then one day I was looking at some charts that showed the nutritional profile, the amino acid profile particularly, of colostrum. Of course, it does change. Mothers, as you know, there's more of one nutrient at the beginning and then later on, but this was sort of an average. And I thought, gosh, that amino acid profile looks awfully familiar. So I ran over to our nutrient chart, and wouldn't you know, it's virtually the same. Not only the same aminos, and I think there's 17 or 18 of them, but they're in the same proportion. And of course, spirulina is second only to mother's milk for having the highest concentration of this important essential fatty acid called GLA, gamma linolenic acid. And the reason why it's in mother's milk is because the baby's brain doubles or triples in size within the first year or two after birth. And so, of course, that fatty acid is very important for brain health. And gosh, wouldn't you know it, it's in the spirulina in the second highest quantity. So that's why, and we all say that mother's milk is the perfect food, and since spirulina mimics the same, certainly the amino acid profile, per amino per proportion, and I can send you the chart, the two charts that compare those, so you can see for yourself. And there's other nutrients, of course, that are in the spirulina, like chlorophyll, that mother's milk doesn't have. But I thought that was pretty powerful. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons also that, and the protein, of course, amino acids are protein broken down. That's why the United Nations is so determined to get this as a crop in third world countries, because they can feed themselves and not have protein deficiencies, which is the biggest issue.
Absolutely. And that's just spirulina, and my
Yeah,
favorite one is not spirulina. And
yeah, me.
there's so many good things that spirulina has, and my favorite's chlorella. So,
Yes.
um, I love that you brought up that this is the world's safest food, that there's been combined 100,000 studies on it, that it's just new sort of to maybe
America, West,
America or
and the
the
Western
West,
worlds.
right?
Yeah,
But it has
yeah,
been consumed for well over 50 years
yeah.
in other countries. And one thing that you brought up in our last interview was that the packaging, if you were to buy sort of what's been sold for 50 years in Japan, for example, the packaging doesn't appeal to you. It doesn't really look delicious, right?
Right, right.
And so you intentionally wanted to create packaging because, unfortunately, in this day and age, we've gotten used to our food looking pretty,
Hmm.
and the logo and the package. If you're going to buy something in a package, it has to kind of look appealing, right? You wouldn't buy
Yeah.
a cereal box that, I don't know, had dirt on it, like just just had a picture of
although
healthy
although now we
dirt.
know that dirt is good for
Yeah,
you.
exactly. I was trying to think of something unappealing, like, I don't know,
Yeah,
traffic with
yeah,
smog, a picture of
yeah,
traffic with
yeah.
smog.
Right. There
That
you
looks like
go.
good cereal. I don't know. But
I
um
know.
but your packaging is clever, and if you go to ENERGYbits.com, there's four different packages. The blue one is the one we basically just talked about. The blue
Yes,
package is called Energy Bits, and it's blue
that's
because of the blue-green algae of
correct.
spirulina. So if you buy the
Correct.
bag of the blue bag, you're getting the
Spirulina.
spirulina. The
Right.
green bag is my favorite. That's the
Yes.
recovery bits, and that is what we're about to talk about, which is the chlorella. And
Correct.
then can you just explain what the two pink bags, the dark pink and the light pink bag,
Yes.
is for? Because I know it might confuse people when they go and they go, which bag do I buy?
Right, right, right. Well, it's so funny because I do have friends. They used to, when I first started, they said, "Well, send me two blue bags and two green bags." And that's when I realized, people are so busy that we need to make it simple for them. And so the colors do reflect the type of algae that you're buying. A blue-green algae is in the blue bag, and that's spirulina, and the green algae is the recovery bits in the chlorella. So the other ones, we also realized, and I did this at the beginning, that not everybody can buy both bags. or they want simplicity. And well, if you're an athlete or you're an active person, we do encourage you to buy them separately because you have more control over them. And if you're hungrier and you need that satisfied, or you need more energy, then you can double up on spirulina if you want. Or if you have a health challenge, you're trying to do more detoxing, having just the chlorella will help you with that. But if you have a pretty stable, predictable life, or you aren't able to buy 2 bags, we came up with Vitality Bits, which is a blend of the two algae. So it's 50% spirulina and 50% chlorella. And we just made it a very dark pink. It's almost red. So that's what that one is. And we have a rather a fourth bag, and it's currently called Skinny Bits, but I can't tell you what it's being renamed to. And it is spirulina as well. So it's exactly the same as Energy Bits. And the reason why there's a second spirulina is because the reason I started the company, and I wasn't even planning on building a company, is that my younger sister 10 years ago developed breast cancer up in Canada, and her oncologist advised her, because she was going to go through chemo, that she should change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would help with her healing. Now, they didn't tell her what it was or why it was good for her, and I'm a really good researcher, so she called me and I said, "Don't worry, I'll find out what it is. Hang in there." And so it was basically a plant-based diet because of the chlorophyll and the phytonutrients that help build your immune system, and eliminating acidic foods like coffee and processed foods and dairy. And so she did change her diet, and she did go through a chemo. And I'm quite happy to tell you that just a month ago, she celebrated her 10th year of cancer-free and took herself
Yay.
to Italy to celebrate. But she's very quiet, or rather private. So I promise I will never reveal her name. And so that's about as much as I can tell you. But the reason why I'm telling you the story is because I went on to, after helping my sister, I thought, wow, this plant-based nutrition stuff's pretty amazing. And I read about 10 books. And this was 10 years ago. Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition then. And I thought, somebody's got to tell other people about this. I think I will. So that's how I got started. And then I discovered algae is the most alkaline, nutrient-dense food in the world. But it's a long-winded way of telling you that women's health is very important to me. And so when I first started the company, I noticed that they weren't buying the energy bits. And so my girlfriends just pulled me aside and they said, "Well, you've got to make it pink and give it a cute name. That's why they're not buying it." So I thought, oh, that's when Bethany Frankel was coming out with her Skinny Margarita. And I thought, oh, skinny, that's kind of cute. So I rebranded it and called it Skinny Bits, but it is exactly the same as Energy Bits, but it's just pink. So someone said, "Oh, you have a boy algae and a girl algae, or a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina." So if you want to consider it that way, that's true. Although over time we've noticed that I've never wanted to promote Skinny Bits as a weight loss product, even though it does satisfy your hunger and would help you lose weight because you wouldn't be eating other things. But we are changing the name to something else, and I'll tell you about it next time we talk, because it will be September. It's going to disappear and something else will reappear, and it is much better suited, and it's still pink.
It's the exact same, but it's the
Exactly.
exact same product. It's just,
Yes.
it's this, because the branding, because some women like to buy a pink bag instead of a blue bag.
Exactly. And I used to be in the publishing industry, and your listeners probably aren't aware of this, but a lot of magazines, they'll do a cover for their newsstand magazine and a different cover for the one that's delivered to your home. Now that you know that, check it out next time if you subscribe to any of the fashion magazines in particular, and you'll notice that this is indeed true. So it's just a packaging. I wanted people to feel comfortable with the product. Everything we do is to help people understand that algae is for them and to make them happy when they take it. So, or help them feel happy and be proud of pulling something out of their handbag or the gym bag that they can connect with. And so the athletes and busy consumers really seem to connect with energy and energy bits. And we found that mostly women do like the Skinny Bits and the pink packaging. So there you go.
That's just so funny. So when listeners go to ENERGYbits.com, they can purchase, if they get the green bag, they're getting the chlorella, and that's my favorite, and that we're about to talk about that. And so that's called Recovery Bits. If they get the blue bag, It's the exact same thing as the light pink bag. It's just whether
Yes.
you like blue or pink, whether you like the name
Right.
Energy Bits or at this point Skinny Bits. But that is the spirulina. And we just talked about that, that it has lots of protein, B vitamins, it's a replacement for fish oil, just all kinds of really amazing, got all the vitamins and the minerals, and within seconds of chewing it, it starts to get into your bloodstream, and you begin to feel the energy, because
Yes.
it's feeding your body. I do have one more question about that before we
Yeah.
move on to chlorella. But for the listeners, when they go to energybits.com, they'll see either they, like I said, blue bag or the light pink bag, and that is the spirulina. And then if they want the benefits of everything you talk about today, that is sort of the purple. It's almost like a fuchsia or purple bag. That's the vitality bits, and that's 50% spirulina, 50% chlorella. And they put in the
Correct.
coupon code LTH, as in Learn True Health, to get 20% off. And can they reuse that coupon code like every month if they,
As
can.
often as they want, and I encourage them to share with your friends. We want everybody to get a discount, and you put the discount in when you're in the shopping cart, and it's on the lower left-hand side. And then you just hit the button that says apply, and then you'll see the discount applied on the screen. You just have to scroll down a bit. But yes, please use it. Please share it with your friends. I'm sure you'll have it on with the show notes. And if they have any questions, they're always welcome to contact you or me, and my team we love educating people about the algae, and we'll help them in any way we can.
Awesome. Excellent. My question about spirulina being a type of bacteria, it lives in water, and does it go through photosynthesis? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, there's about 15 to 20,000 strains of algae. So, but all of them except the ones that we're talking about pretty much will make you sick or possibly kill you. So don't go out in your back swimming pool or your back pond and scoop up a bunch of algae and dry it and think that you can have that for snack or for lunch the next day. Not a good idea. So we grow our algae, and most algae that is grown, but we take pride in the high quality and careful things we've done to be sure it's pure. We grow it in freshwater tanks in Taiwan. Now, algae is grown 99% of it's grown in Asia. So it's India, China, Japan, a little bit in Hawaii and Taiwan. And Taiwan is world renowned for having the highest quality algae and the strictest controls. So we grow it in fresh water. It's from a mountain spring, and it's triple filtered. And then it's tested every day for purity. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I tested again at a third-party lab here to be sure there are no toxins, no pesticides, and all that sort of good stuff. So algae is a single-cell organism that converts sunshine like any other plants. It uses chlorophyll to convert the light into proteins, and then spirulina is grown in they're called raceways. They're long, narrow tanks. We call them tanks that would look a bit like a runway, or that's why they call it runways, or a bowling lane, because spirulina grows in a spiral. So it's a big. It starts in test tubes indoors, and then they transplant it out to the runway, and it takes about a month to grow, and it just gets thicker and thicker and grows in a spiral from one end to the other. And then the water is constantly moving, so it doesn't become stagnant, and that's when you run into problems of other toxins and stuff. So and then it's gathered up and air dried. They shoot it into the air. We don't use high heat like all the other lower quality companies who are dependent on cheap algae and high volume, low price. We are focusing on high quality, so we don't use high heat, and that preserves the enzymes. So we're very proud that our algae is actually also considered not only vegan and keto and paleo, but it's a raw food.
Oh, it's so
Um,
cool.
yeah. So it's just no different than the other plants that use sunlight to convert to chlorophyll. But the difference with algae is this particular chlorella, and the reason why it's called chlorella because it has the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world, and spirulina has less chlorophyll because it has that other pigment in it called the phycocyanin, the blue pigment. which is also got some healing properties. Now, I'll tell you, I don't think we mentioned this, but I'll tell you a really cool thing. There was a study that I found a few years ago, and I'd be happy to share this with you. And up until now, your listeners have probably heard about mitochondria and how they generate all of our energy, which is something called ATP. And the understanding was that all that energy had to be it was generated through glucose and through the cell getting access to energy. And so they've also now found that ketones are a much more cleaner way for your mitochondria to generate energy. But this study that I read, and I'll share with you, showed that chlorophyll, when you take chlorophyll and then you are exposing yourself to sunlight, you generate energy in the same way as you would from ketones. I just was stunned by it. So the summary of this article was that we're actually not so different from plants after all. And while we're on the topic of chlorophyll, I'm not sure if your listeners know this, but if you Google it, and this will be great for your high school friend who challenged me on the bacteria. Chlorophyll is virtually identical to the chemical composition of your hemoglobin. That's your red blood cells. Identical. There's only one cell that's different between the two of them. In hemoglobin, the center atom is iron, and the reason for that is because iron carries oxygen in our blood. And in plants, the center atom is magnesium. Other than that, our blood is identical to the chemical composition of chlorophyll. And if that doesn't give you a tip-off of how important chlorophyll is, I don't know what will. And so, I tell people, hey, if it wasn't for that iron atom, our blood would probably be green.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yeah, my poop's already green from eating so much algae, but now, I also tell people, hey, I think Dr. Seuss was onto algae because he wrote that book Green Eggs and Ham, and I think what was in the eggs that made it green was algae. So
That's funny. Our son loves Dr. Seuss, and that's our code word for when he doesn't want to try something. We go green eggs and ham. Green eggs and ham. Gotta try it. You might like it. You'll see. You might like it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
chlorophyll is basically in all plants, right?
Yes.
It's plant energy, and that's in spirulina and in chlorella.
Yes.
And it's green, and chlorophyll in and of itself has amazing healing properties for the body.
Yes.
But the fact that
Yes.
it's so similar to our own blood it's really cool, and it has magnesium in it, which we've had Dr. Carolyn Dean on the show, who's the doctor of magnesium, and she talks about how there's
So
over
important.
900 enzymatic processes in the body that require magnesium, and if you're deficient, you have over 900 things going wrong in your body.
Right.
That's going to lead to
Right.
disease. I mean,
Exactly.
and Dr. Joel Wallach, through many years of federally funded research, discovered way back like 30 years ago, he discovered the root cause of um, 900 different diseases that cross species lines, and he was able to relate them back to nutrient deficiencies, 90 minerals being the most important thing. 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals being the most important, being the most prevalent nutrient deficiency. So minerals being the most, because if you think about it, we can accidentally get vitamins, but it's really hard to accidentally get all of our minerals, especially because the farms are so deplete now. The soil is so deplete
Exactly.
from
Exactly.
all the trace minerals. How many trace minerals are in your spirulina and chlorella?
That's a good question. There's probably, 20 or 30, maybe even more, because it's based on how much, what measurements, what you ask your lab to test for. So we don't test for all the trace minerals. So I'm sure there's even more than that. And we're not allowed by the FDA doesn't allow us to put everything on our label. So we make another chart that you can find on the product pages that give you a fuller explanation of all the aminos and all the minerals. But even still, there's even more. But that's also something that we're going to continue working on. But it is so important, and the answer is not to take a supplement, because those supplements are usually made from what's called inorganic materials. So that's like rocks or seashells, and Organic materials are plants, things that are alive. And when you have a mineral that comes from something that's alive, it has all the other factors and cofactors because these minerals are enzymatic. They help with enzymes and processes in your body, as you mentioned. 900 for magnesium, and they just work better when they come from a source that has been alive, because of the synergies. There's nothing alive about a rock or a ground up seashell. So and you can also, because they're extracts and your body doesn't recognize them because they're not natural, they're not supposed to be in your body in that shape. You will do one of two things. You will either not absorb them or you will get to a toxicity state. And 95% of the supplements are made from extracts, and you're either peeing them out or you're getting like, especially things like that are fat based. You can reach toxic levels of fat based vitamins. So it's always better to get your nutrients from food. And that's why I'm so proud of the algae, because things like chlorophyll, algae has 1,000 times more chlorophyll than greens. 200 times, well, this is chlorella in particular, 200 times more chlorophyll than spinach. You would have to have a room full of spinach to equal the amount of chlorophyll you'll get probably in a serving of the chlorella. That's how powerful it is. So it's very exciting to have something that is so natural and so replete with minerals, and not as well as the vitamins. And while we're talking about chlorophyll, I also want to mention that chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. So it's or an antioxidant. And the reason why this is important, because we talked earlier about the essential fatty acids, how important these are for your cell walls. Vitamins like A and D are fat-based. And so all of those fat-based vitamins will help heal the cell wall. And the cell wall is where the action is. I tell people, your cell wall is like your windows. And if your windows aren't clean, the sun can't get in and you can't see out, see what's going on. So if your cell walls aren't healthy with proper fats, nutrients cannot get in and toxins can't get out. So that's when you start having issues and health issues, because the toxins are just causing all this damage to your cell. So you want that cell wall to be healthy. And this is quite different from that other pigment in spirulina, which is called phycocyanin. That's a water-based pigment. And that's why I realized it helps with the healing of the cancer, because it affects your plasma and your blood. So fat-based vitamins and things like chlorophyll are for the cell wall, and the water-based ones are for, like C, are for your blood and your plasma. They do quite different things in your body. It's very, very interesting.
That is really interesting. That's cool that chlorophyll is a fat-based antioxidant. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah, I
really
didn't
neat.
either.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. All right, let's get on to my favorite one.
Okay.
And
All
this
right.
is so funny. We're like halfway through the interview, and we were only, this is our intro. Um,
Yeah. Right.
but okay, so chlorella
So
is my
chlorella.
favorite, and
Yes.
what turned me on was when I met a doctor who's famous, he's world renowned, and yet he's in my backyard. It's Dr. Diedrich Klinghardt. He's been an MD for over 40 years. He was also he was trained as a surgeon and an MD in Germany, but very interesting, Germany being very different from many other countries. They taught him in medical school, uh they gave him a deep knowledge of acupuncture and of homeopathy. So he graduated as a surgeon and an MD, also able to treat, using a much more holistic approach. And he came to the States and quickly saw that how we're doing things is basically just pushing drugs. And he committed as a doctor 40 years ago to almost never use drugs, only unless it was the better option, and to always find the better option in nature. And he has
Right.
succeeded. And so he has been reversing 100% reversing autism. And that's
Wow.
only one thing he does. I mean, he treats Lyme disease. I've been to his clinic and met his patients and met him with his doctors, and amazing things that they're doing. But unfortunately, the people who are in incredible pain, incredible suffering, finally discover him. Um, and so it's like he's dealing with people who are quite sick, and also, hopefully some people discover him and they're not on death's door. but children. He gets
Yeah.
great results, and that's because he puts them on a natural program to detoxify the body. And the first thing he does is get them on chlorella. Get them
Yay.
on chlorella because chlorella pulls out, it chelates those heavy metals from the body and from the brain and from the nervous system, and then he gets them to do, and I had him on the show and he talks about this. He gets the parents to make a green smoothie. So, just throw in a fruit like a banana or strawberries or blueberries, and then throw in a handful of kale or Swiss chard or something green like spinach, and then a bushel of cilantro. And the cilantro works with synergistically, specifically with those who have really high levels of heavy metals, works synergistically with the chlorella to draw out the heavy metals. But one thing he said, and I thought this was really interesting, because a lot of people who try chlorella have a bad reaction to it, and then they go, oh, this isn't for me, and they give up. And he says the problem is they ate like 4 of them. And he
Yeah.
says if you just sit there and have one because you just want to try it, or have like four, and they're tiny, they're the size of
Right.
aspirins, they're the
Right.
size of pumpkin seeds. And so if you just eat 4 of them, you'll actually have a negative reaction. You have to eat 20 or 30 of them. If you're a kid, if you're small, you can have like 10, but you need to eat 20 or 30 in one sitting. And he said the reason is that when you eat a few of them, it stimulates heavy metals to come out of your tissue, but there wasn't enough chlorella to
To pull it
bind
out.
to it.
That's really
And
interesting.
so what he says is if you're going to, eat chlorella every day, which we should be pulling, it's a great natural detox that has no side effects if you do it right. Then you eat 20 or 30 in one sitting, which is fine. It's like a handful. It's just a little handful, and it's fun. It's kind of like sitting down and eating nuts or seeds.
Yeah.
Um, and he says then there'll be enough chlorella in your body to bind to the heavy metals that it stimulates the release of, and it'll just help your liver and your kidneys pull it out of your body.
Yeah.
So when he talked about that, it just set something off, and I became very excited. And that was why I was so excited to have you on the show, because I had started eating chlorella and getting my son to eat chlorella, but I was trying different companies, and then when I tried yours, I was like, whoa, there's definitely something to yours, and that's because of the process that you make sure every step of the way is the highest quality.
Yeah.
What you said, that how you dry the spirulina, maybe you can just explain, is it the same as the farming process? Is it any different from growing the spirulina crop and growing the chlorella crop? And then you said that you dry the spirulina by having it being thrown in the air. Can you just describe, maybe take us behind the scenes and describe a little bit um how you grow the two different crops?
Well, I will absolutely. They are grown differently, and I want to emphasize the thing that is the most important, particularly when it comes to chlorella. And I don't know, should we talk about chlorella now, and or
Sure.
will it
Yeah.
because that sort of explains why there is a growing a difference in the way it's grown. So different from spirulina, which gives you energy and focus and satisfies your hunger. Chlorella is really a wellness algae. It helps you recover your health or prevent you from getting sick, which is why we call it recovery bits, because you recover your health. Now, there's a number of reasons why you it helps you with your health, and I'm going to go in a deeper dive into the vitamin K2 later on, but I want to talk about the detox component and the cleansing component. The cleansing component comes from the chlorophyll, which we've already mentioned is also in the spirulina, but it's twice as much in the chlorella. And chlorophyll is very cleansing because it cleans those windows on your cell walls so that the nutrients can get in and your toxins can get out. But the detox capability of chlorella, which is quite different from spirulina. Spirulina is not a chelator. You can get cleansing benefits from it, but it cannot pull out heavy toxins like chlorella does. Any kind of metals, it doesn't matter what it is, chlorella pulls it out. Radiation, like we mentioned. And the way it does this is because, remember we said spirulina was a bacteria, had no cellulose wall on the outside. Well, its sister algae, chlorella, which developed a billion years after spirulina, is technically a plant. Although in fact, I don't even like to refer to it as a plant. It's what's called a sea vegetable, because Chlorella does not have any of the anti-nutrients that you can find in other plants like kale or spinach that have phytic acid. There is no phytic acid in any of our algae, or virtually none. So the reason why this is so important is that chlorella has this hard, not only a cellulose wall, but the hardest cellulose wall in the plant kingdom. And it's that hard cellulose wall that attaches itself to toxins. It's both the algae are called adaptogens, which mean they know what to do in your body, and it is truly a miracle that chlorella knows what to do. It will leave the stuff that should be there, like healthy iron and other minerals that should be in your body, but it knows what to pull out, and it will pull out anything from alcohol, lactic acid. We mentioned radiation, lead, mercury, and not only pulls them out of your cells, but holds on to them and pulls them all the way out through either through your breath or your urination or other elimination. And the reason why this hard cellulose wall is so important to understand, particularly as it relates to how we grow it, is that years ago, they realized chlorella started, all the algae started in Asia, and the chlorella was started in Japan back in the 50s. And they were the first country to learn how to grow it for large mass consumption. But at first, people weren't absorbing the nutrients, and they realized it because of this hard cellulose wall, and it had to be cracked at production in order for your body to be able to absorb it and for it to have that chelating effect. So this one company called Sun Chlorella, which I am very honored that they started the industry. They're considered the granddaddy of chlorella. They patented a technique to physically tumble the chlorella after it was grown, so that in glass beads, so that the friction of the glass beads with the chlorella would physically crack the chlorella. And so they patented the technique, and 99% of all chlorella that's grown around the world uses their technique. Now, I had heard whispers that there could be some lead that leaked from the glass as it heated up into the chlorella. And I thought, well, if there's any hint of any possible impropriety, I don't want anything to do with it. We've got to find another technique to crack our chlorella. And so we did. We found another technique that was very new, very modern, more expensive. And that's what we use to crack our chlorella, which is to pass it through a sound chamber. And it's the vibrations that crack the chlorella. No glass, no heat, no lead. And interestingly, just when I was making that decision, the state of California, they also had learned about the possibility of there being too much lead in this particular company's chlorella, which of course is the technique everybody uses. So they did a test, and they did indeed find that the lead levels exceeded what was acceptable. When I tell my team, how much lead is acceptable? I would say none. So they told the company, well, you can either stop selling in the state of California, which frankly is larger than the country of Canada, or you can put a warning on your packaging, which is what they did. And they sell this product in Whole Foods. And I say shame on Whole Foods, because they are knowingly selling a product that is labeled to say this product contains a substance known to cause birth defects and brain disorders. Ugh. Oh, isn't that terrific? You're taking chlorella to pull out toxins, and now you're introducing one. So I'm really happy, and I will always make decisions this way to always preserve the integrity and the honesty and the purity of our company and our product, and protect our customers. Because remember, I didn't start this company to build a billion-dollar company. It'd be great if we became one. I started this company to help people be healthy. I just wanted to help my sister. That's all I wanted to do, and I just kept going. So I share this because when we grow our algae, especially the chlorella, it does follow a different growing pattern. And in fact, the tanks, remember I said the spirulina grows in a spiral, so they have a long, narrow what we call runway. Chlorella is the fastest growing plant in the world, and I think it quadruples in size every 24 hours. And what they call it blooms. So it blooms out in a circular fashion. So the tanks that the chlorella are grown in are round, because it starts in the middle, and over a month it will grow and fill up the tank, and then they gather it similar to the way they gather the spirulina, and then so it's kind of looks like seaweed, and then it is dried. They put it into a chute, and they shoot it up into the air, and it falls into like a dried, almost a powder. And then from there, it's moved into the process where they press it. They press the water out of it. I say they sort of look like little muffin tins, and they just press the algae into these little shapes. There are no binders, nothing. It's just maybe it's because there's enough amino acids that hold it together. But there you go. It just gets pressed into these shapes, and then it's bagged. We bag them there. Well, actually, we don't bag them there. We import them in large containers, and we bag them here. So we do all the packaging here in the United States at an FDA-approved company, and we have 2 packaging companies. But our large bags, which are available on the website, the chlorella is called ENERGYbits. All the bags are what's called UV protected, so sunlight can't get in, because the sunlight will pull the chlorophyll out of the algae and cause a deterioration in the nutrient value. And so I think one of the reasons our algae is so tasty and so highly regarded is because the growing techniques, we use the triple filtered spring water, and water is the very important, very, very critical. And we don't use any binders, we don't use any heat, so there's no nutritional changes occurring. And then we protect them, the tablets, by putting them into UV protected bags. So literally the algae will never go bad. However, we do encourage you, after you open the bag, to put it in the fridge, because if you are chewing them like you do and I do, because there's no preservatives and it is food, if you want it to taste the best, then it should be in the fridge to preserve the nutrient value. But, it's funny, when I told someone about the fact that we pass our chlorella through a sound chamber and it's the vibrations that crack it, they said, "Ooh, good vibrations. I like it. Oh, your algae's got good." And I thought, hey, yeah, because you know what? I don't know if I told you, I'm a Reiki healer, although I don't practice, but I did study Reiki, and the world is all about energy and it's all about vibrations. And I secretly think one of the reasons why our algae tastes so good is because there's just so much love being, we're built on love. This company is built on love, and it's got a vibration that I think saturates everything that we do. So there you go. That'll be one for your high school professor to really challenging me on.
Oh, I think he believes in the power of love too. So
Okay.
let's see here. I've actually
Yeah.
heard back from some of my listeners who listened to your first interview and bought your Chlorella and Spirulina, and they love it as much as I love it. I thought that was really cool. But recently you emailed me, we've been emailing back and forth for the last few months, and it's been great, connecting with you and learning more about the power of algae. But recently you had received a testimonial from a woman that
Yes.
made me cry.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you
Me
share her
too. Yeah.
story? Can you share her
Absolutely.
story, the little bit of background about her, and then share what she wrote to you? Believe it or not, this is actually a great place for us to wrap up part 1 of our interview, because in the next episode, Catharine shares a moving and beautiful story about one of her customers who has stage 4 cancer, and what the Chlorella and Spirulina has done for her health. And we get into talking about some other wonderful stories of healing, and we dive into the understanding of many other subjects like vitamin K2 and how that plays a role in reversing osteoporosis, in preventing osteoporosis, in building healthy and strong bones in kids and seniors and people of all ages. So check out part 2. If you loved today's episode, you'll definitely love the next part. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you so much for sharing this show and helping all of your friends and family to learn true health.